I'm here with Erick Rodriguez, recent graduate of the Life Accelerator. Erick, tell us about you. Where are you from? What do you do?
I'm from a little town called Tyler, Texas, a little bit off Dallas. And there we're not really known for anything particular except for roses. And the reason I point that out is because I'm an artist. So that simple metaphor of being known only for something that blossoms is something that kind of I'm reflecting on now. That when people ask me where I'm from, the only thing I have to tell them is that we're about roses. And it seemed like something so inane, something so small, specific, that it doesn't have that much value. But then I think about the fact that 40 people decided to pay for me to come here and that you wanted to meet me. And it's like that's very specific and inane thing that I do called art has allowed me to branch out into the world. And all I had to do was put it out there, and let it grow on its own. And that's been my experience so far. In the plane, I sat next to a photographer who talked to me because she saw my art. And I've been just surrounded by so much support that it's been more than I can describe, but it feels right at the same time, which is the strangest thing about it. So I'm from Tyler, but now that I'm in London, it feels like this world is my home. And I didn't understand that until coming here. So that's a little bit about me as far as a nutshell, I suppose.
What's it like walking around the city today?
It feels like I'm in the center of the world. It feels like the whole world is coming here. And the strange thing, I guess, for me is I get to leave. So I wonder what it is to be able to go from that juxtaposition between the central London, and then just a few flights down, you get to go to the Thames. And it's just like there's this body of water that all we can do is float in it. We can pollute it and everything else, but ultimately, all you hear is the water if you choose to. And that really opens it up to me that I can have conversations there very specifically, and in the city you have to listen so much more. You have to take in so much more that you get lost in the fact that this, as much as we try to change everything, is still earth. And as much as we make that vocalization that this is nature and this is man-made, ultimately when we break down the distinctions, we are a product of nature. So we created this noise, this mess, I suppose, because we had to, we needed this, and we do need it. But then we always go back to the silence. And it's until we get that we understand what we've actually done. And we can reflect on whether we've grown or whether we've stagnated. And then that's the true change. It comes with these brief moments of silence, which is weird. That the greatest thing that I found in London was that small moment, just the Thames flowing along. So it's been a very contrasting experience. I've never been in a place anything like this, not in the big cities in Texas or anything, because they're so open. Here, you can get wherever you want pretty quickly, but there's so much to see in every part that it's like you could spend your whole life here and never know all of it. And there's something that can be morose about that, but I always say that there's more in this world that I can see, more to listen to that I could hear, and more to experience that I have life to live. And that can be an awful thing if you think about it, because we want everything. But it also means that you have a choice. You have to decide what your value is. And in this case, this city is wonderful, it's marvelous, but it would mean nothing to me to get lost in this city if I wasn't lost with all these people that I found. And that's the true value here for me.
Where were you in your life? What challenges were you dealing with when you decided to join us on the Life Accelerator? What was going on with you?
I was coming out of a slump I'd been in since I was around 13 specifically, but that started to manifest from when I was 10, where I was dealing with problems of not being brought up to have coping mechanisms to deal with emotion properly, and also having social anxiety, where I was always prompted as being someone of talent and someone of brilliance, and I didn't see that because I could see my mistakes, and I was around myself too much to know that people thought I was good at everything. I was like, the most important thing, which is to make people happy, I can't do because of the people I was surrounded with. But then when I found this course, it was like I had these 2 years where it was actually kind of like module 5 for 2 years, except for the final bit that I needed that I got out of this course, which was I asked for forgiveness and I forgave. And that was really the final cornerstone, that because I exercised, I dieted, I meditated, but it never stuck because there was never that closure, that culmination, the depression always came back, and the anxiety ultimately was always stronger than I was, because I didn't allow the help that I was being offered to propel me in the way that it should. So I was in a good place in context, but not nearly as good as where I am now. I still didn't have the confidence to do the things that I'm able to do now, or to be willing to.
Why London Real?
Because I'm extremely misanthropic. I don't trust anyone. That was how I was raised. But after a year and a half, and I suppose that the reason is because I consider myself to be a person of few, that does a few things very well. You know, I make art, I write, and I listen. So with listening, it's something that I've done longer and put more energy to than even art, because it's much more difficult to do. So when I'm watching your interviews, I'm studying your diction, I'm studying your posture, I'm studying the way your eyes move, I'm studying everything that I can get out of you and out of your guests. And there's nothing more, I've never seen more genuine conversations between people. And for someone like me that doesn't talk, I understand that language is so much more powerful than most people really know, or than I even knew for most of my life. So when I saw this happening, it was creating changes within me that I didn't understand, because it was making me happy. And when you make someone happy without giving them something, without offering them something that's tangible, it conflicts with me. Because I thought, I'll be happy when I'm an artist, I'll be happy when I see my paintings on the wall, I'll be happy when I sell my first thing, I buy my first house and all that, and I give back to my family and all that. But I was sitting here, in my mind, doing nothing, just listening, and I was fulfilled, I was complete. And I didn't understand what was happening. But then when I started seeing more and more, and I started actually trying some of these things, never really sticking through like I should, I was like, this is changing the world, because it's changed me. But ultimately I came to the conclusion after those emails and thinking about it, I'm like, well, if I have to invest in myself to know that I'm worth it, or that I've actually changed, why not do it through this medium? This is someone that I've learned to trust. Like, as much as I might disagree with certain things that you've done and said, you're honest, you're genuine, and that's the rarest quality I've seen in any person. But the thing that attracts me the most to them. So I was like, if I can learn anything from you, I will take it. But I was very skeptical going into this.
You don't trust a lot of people, do you, Eric?
I didn't trust anyone. Like, my best friends only knew what I felt they had to know. Any problems were mine. You know, I still say it, but I don't know how I feel about it anymore, but I used to tell people that I don't cry in public, but it's not because I don't cry, it's because I say that they can have my art, they can have my words, but the tears are the one thing in the world that's mine. You know, the pain belongs to me. It's the one thing that I know that I create. So it's the one thing that I understood and that I always felt, so I went to it subconsciously in many ways, and I asked the universe for it, so I got it in disproportionate amounts. But at some point you have to start giving back. You have to allow these things to nourish other people's or the belief other people give to you. And if you just cup it in your hands and hold it to yourself, then it just condenses in that same area and it just crystallizes, and that becomes the lens through which you see life in a very myopic way, instead of allowing these things to wash away. So when I started doing that and I started being more open, it just changed the fact that I can lose now. It's fine. I've lost so much that I'm not afraid. If I'm still alive, it's because there's more within me that I have to lose. There's a ever replenishing source to everything that I do, as long as I'm willing to open myself to the world, especially then. Even at my lowest point, if I'm able to have that energy to keep on going, to keep on coming back, imagine what'll happen if I can move through this. And when I made that realization, I just needed a fight. And when I saw London Rio, I knew who I wanted to fight alongside. So I had to take that plunge and give myself a chance for once, and someone else a chance as well.
Yeah, it's an important thing to do. You join us January 1st, 2nd, you start the course. You get module 1, you get the first call with me, you see this group of people on Facebook. What do you think?
I think that I need 5 more weeks to get my money back. that that all I have to do is finish this, and then I'll understand how London Real works in the background and go out with experience, and then get my money back and reinvest it somewhere. And then I realized that after 1 week of meditating, low media diet, and gratitude, that because I went in and I had this very skeptical, misanthropic view that I'm just going to go in and get my money back because I was being greedy. And I told myself at the same time that if I just cure my insomnia that I've been suffering for so long, then I'll pay. If you told me that, like with the academy when I joined, ultimately I told myself, if you told me that I could meet one really good person for $300, I would do it every day. And I did the same thing. If you told me I could cure my insomnia for what amounts to $2,000, I would do that, to be able to sleep right every night. For someone that really has insomnia, understands that sometimes that's all you want to do and you can't. And after 1 week of just doing this stuff, it was gone. So in 1 week, I was still trying to convince myself that I should take my money back, but I couldn't reconcile that fact anymore, that I was changing a lot faster than I thought. And I was this can't be permanent, this can't be real. But then the second week happens, and the third, and then the fourth, and then the fifth one comes, and I'm just like, I paid way too little for this. You know, I would have, I'm thinking there has to be some more way that I can give more to this. Like, I've gotten so much that I don't know how to feel about this. I'm not used to taking charity, and it almost feels like that, even though I paid. But it feels like, you know, out of this, it feels like I'm in the ground zero for something that's going to change the world. And that's the feeling I came out with, that the world is changing. I'm not sure what it is, but it's like there's always been this weird umbra of belief that when you look at it, all you see is darkness because you can't see what it is. But the thing is that they say that you can never bring darkness to light, only ever light to darkness. So when you finally do jump in, you realize it wasn't the worst thing that you imagined. It was just a freedom to explore. And when you have that, you can explore, as Bill Hicks said, inner and outer space. And when you're constantly making that travel, then this sort of travel is compulsory, is natural. So everything just binds together, comes so well, and then you see it condensed in 6 weeks into a course, and it feels like life. And that's such a strange thing to have. You know, it's one thing to watch a masterpiece. It's another thing to be in the part of creating one. And in that sense, I was glad to be a part of this.
Tell me about the people. You met a lot of them last night. You saw them on this course.
Specifically, I always say that when I try to explain to people what this is, at first I have trouble with it because I try to tell them, you know, we meditated, we ate better, we forgave people, but they don't get it. And I understand because I read the emails, and even you guys can't tell us with this course why it's so good, because how do you put into words, how can you sell people on the idea that you'll have the more confidence you ever had, because it's not just, it comes from you, but you see it reflected in all these people. These people have no reason to believe in you. They have no reason to trust you, no reason to like you, no reason to love you. And when you see someone like Susan change that fast, how can I be disrespectful to that? How can I not honor their sacrifice by making my own? How can I tell myself again that I'm going to change? In 10 years, I'll come to London. You know, when I have the money, when I'm established, when I have a house, when I have a mortgage, then I'll get a break at some point. I come for 3 days, and that'll be it. Why not today? You know, even without money, and somehow it happened. And yet I'm here, so I have no choice, because if I think about it, oh, this seems unbelievable. It's beyond my comprehension. But if I live it, then this feels natural, because this is where I am supposed to be right now. And as far as where I'm going with all this, I'm going back to the shadows, to the parts I haven't explored yet. And that's a change that's in my mind. I'm always thinking, where else in the world do I need to go? What do I need to see? Who do I need to meet? So now I'm open to the world, and whoever wants to come along, you know, try to explain to them about these people that have changed my life, and whose life has been changed by it. But the greatest feeling I have is that every day this year has been incredible. And it's gotten to the point where it's like I wake up and I'm excited. Even if there's nothing specifically to do, I'm excited. because I know that I can respond to any failure. I know that I can chart my course of success, and I know that I can still stare at the sky without constellations, without stars, without any significant marks, barely lit by a moon hidden by clouds that I can barely see. And I don't have to be worried about the fact that I see nothing yet. I just have to start doing. And at some point, that same light that you're charting is going to be reflected on someone else, and then you'll connect. And you create your own constellations. You create your own life. And with these people, you know, I could gladly spend my life with this group of people and be fine. I don't need more than what I have, but anything else is a bonus. I have more wealth in my life than I could ever imagine. I have the wealth in the world. I have people. And Jimmy Vivano once said, the greatest gift that any person can give you is to believe in you. And I have that from more people than I can even really ever thank, but every bit helps, I guess, and all I have to do is pay it back, or try to.
They brought you here, all these people.
Yeah, they did, and I try to figure out why, but I really can't. I could try to placate my arrogance and say, and I do it sometimes as sort of an affirmation, of course I should be here. Of course they want to meet me. But the truth is that I don't always understand why people give me a chance. I don't know what they see in me. And even that might sound a bit complacent to say, but I really, really don't. I just know that whenever I just put myself out there, something good happens and comes back. I don't know what the measure of this, I know that what it costs, but the intangible measure of trust, of faith, of giving me confidence, that sort of confidence, I don't know how to repay but to do my best. So when I found out, it was strange because I thought, I would think about it at first. I was really excited. But then when it actually happened, I was already at peace within myself because of everything that happened. It was like I already got everything that I needed. And now it's a culmination of it. It's a closure, the kind that I've never had before in my life with any of my experiences. But it's not a closure for the sake of sepulturing anything. It's just for the sake of continuing on. It's like the starting point. And as amazing as this has all been and as eye-opening, it seems like it's all just going to magnify itself. And I won't even feel it. I won't even know. But this is the gift that I'll have to leave for the rest of the world to see. The things that I've seen. And the ways that it might help them. And that's what I'm here for. That's why I can't be nervous. Standing in front of this person I saw 2 years ago who was changing the world. And I can't be nervous because I have this overbearing arrogance that I'm just this extremely intelligent person that has great things to say, but I have to be more courageful than I am afraid, because there are people out there who feel the way that I have and need to know that I came from that place. And if I'm sitting here, they have no right to give up. And they have to keep going.
And this is the beginning for you. And every day you got to go big, or it's a big dishonor to the rest of us in this group, and me too. So
yeah.
Don't forget that, you know. And, you know, look, for the rest of the year, you got calls with your team every month. But I know this Erick Rodriguez kid probably better than you do. And he could easily go back to this nihilistic state that I think he likes. But, you know, that's some bullshit that we don't need anymore. And so, you know, I've only spent about 20 minutes with you just now. But, yeah, man, you got all sorts of crazy stuff in you, and the world needs it, you know? So
thank you.
Make sure you do that, you know?
I'll have to. I have no choice now.
And for people that don't know what we're talking about, this group, a lot of them came to London, you know, for this graduation weekend, like 40 of them or something.
Yeah.
And not everyone could afford to come to London because you got to buy an international plane ticket, right? Which sometimes is as expensive as the goddamn course, right? Depending on where you live. And so when one of them, pretty much George T, found out that you couldn't make it necessarily, or Nicholas couldn't make it, he's like, we're bringing these guys in, right? That's never happened in the history of London Real, you know, that everyone said, wait a second, let's make it happen. And, you know, he started, you know, saying he's going to jump in the cold pond with me, you know, and let's raise some money, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, flew you in and Nicholas in, and that's crazy. I've never seen it happen. So, like you said, we can't even explain what happened here, but something special happened and is happening. And when you say you could spend the rest of your life with just this group, I think I agree. And that's crazy.
It really is.
That's crazy.
It's a crazy thought.
It's a crazy thought. What was the biggest struggle on this course? Modules, things?
Module 5. Because it took me until the end of it to realize that I hadn't fulfilled my commitment yet. The first video that I made, I said, I'd already forgiven people. I'd already talked to my brothers, already talked to my parents, to my best friends. And I'd already expunged the people from my life that didn't reflect where I wanted to go in the future. But I saw Nicholas' video talking about his story. I saw everybody's videos, Mariel, I can't even remember because it's just, the way that I look at it now, it seems to make so much sense that it would all come at this point, like towards the end, where we're all so worn down that we can't deny anymore what we have to do. They were putting themselves out into the course, and I was like, I have to at least give them a little bit. But then I ended up making like a 20-minute video that I could barely even get through. Because after I realized that I hadn't never forgiven myself, I understood that I hadn't really forgiven the other people, because you can't do more for others than what you're willing to do for yourself. At least not in a true sense, because then there'll always be this foundation of self-deprecation that doesn't allow you to give as much as you possibly could, because you don't have that love to give, because you don't have it all the way for yourself. And for me, I'd never forgiven myself for taking the person that I was and teaching him to hate himself for 10 years. And that's a hard thing to forgive, because if you think about it in a third person context, how would you forgive someone for doing that to your child? So eventually, and at the end of that, I told about a dream that changed things for me, that made me realize that I hadn't dealt with this properly. Because I started to have a dream where I would see myself sitting across a bench, in a park. And he would just be reading a book or drawing on a pad or just staring at the ground, with his head in his hands, just thinking. And I'll be wondering what's he thinking about, what's he reading, what's he drawing, and I already know what he's doing at the same time, but I'm wondering because what I'm really doing is thinking about how could I have made this different? And I would wake up and I would be either angry or I was just dismissive, saying that kid's gone. He wasn't strong enough for this world, because I was chasing a false conception of what it means to be strong. So I outrooted my emotion, I became desensitized, and I became cruel to myself, not so much to other people, thankfully. I just became reticent to them. I just didn't give them the attention they deserved. But one day I realized what I had done. When I'd forgiven everybody else and I still didn't feel right, I still knew there was something lingering, so I had to dig even deeper. And that dream made me realize what I had done. And I started asking for forgiveness. And so the next day, I had that dream again. And this time, we just sat across from each other. And he just looked me in the eye and just walked away. And we went in opposite directions, and so I couldn't see where he was going, but I knew that he was going home. So at that point, when you have that and you start to understand that you have to give it all up. So I finally started letting go. And it was great, because then I could finally look people in the eye again. I could finally find that resourcefulness within myself to keep pushing, to keep going. Because it's been a long fight, and I'm exhausted, but I've never been more ready to fight. And I have the right people now, so why not come to London? Why not be a great artist? Why not do more for the world? And why not give it all away? In the same way that it's been given to me. And now I know that my mission is to write the way that I want to read, speak the way that I want to hear, paint the way that I want to see, and to give as much as I've been given. And with that in mind, what else is there but to live? Everything is gone now, so everything is mine to gain.
Did you forgive him?
I'm starting to.
Okay.
I'm starting to.
If you told me yes, I wouldn't believe you anyways.
Yeah.
It's going to take some time.
It is, but I have the right people. I'm not worried.
What's the one thing that you think you can tell people that they might be able to take from what you learned over the last 6 weeks? People are watching. One thing that they can change about their life that might get them on a path, to maybe grow as much as you've grown.
Don't face your fear with the intent of being happy. Face your fear with the intent of being courageous. And through courage, you will find your happiness. And you will never see it, and you will never understand it until you learn to listen. Because we can only see ever in one direction. And if you ever try to see, I suppose, cross your eyes and try to see in two, you see blurry. But you can hear from every direction. And if you want to understand how to cultivate your ability to listen, you have to learn how to listen for silence. If you can understand what it is to have so much going on around you and hear the silence, then you can understand what it means like to have the whole world around you and be yourself. So you have to cultivate your silence, you have to embrace your darkness, and you have to understand that the fear, the love, the negativity, the positivity, it's all a part of you, it's from you, in the same way we are from the earth. So as much as we try to articulate that we're apart from the world, that we're doing things to the world, we are of the world. If we are diseased, we are a disease of nature, and we will heal. If we are healing, then we will show those around you how to get better, and we will heal. We are here to heal from the things that we've done, but to do better by those same mechanisms that brought us wrong. Nothing gets thrown away, no emotion goes to waste. We need everything that we have to fight in the way that we should. And if you recognize that within you, you forget your fear of crying in public. You forget your fear of speaking as you feel. You forget that your heart and your mind are separate because you're working together now. So what is there left in the world but to be silent when you have to be? To be quiet but not reticent, and outspoken but not loud. Speak as you have to, not as you want to. Live as you should and as you mean to, not as you believe that you should. Because belief is only good in the extent of faith. And faith in yourself is where it begins. Without that, we will only ever fall deeper and deeper, because we won't be open to the darkness. We'll fall with our eyes closed. And if you want to find your light, then you have to cast away your shadows by going to them.
And that's where you're going now. That's what's next.
That's where I'm going. Yep.
What's acrylic meditation?
Acrylic meditation is what got me here. It's the need to do something different with art. Because being controlling and being able to do incredible things, of course, is nice. And is where I'm going forward. But at some point, you have to allow yourself to be human. You have to allow yourself to be out of control. So you can understand how much effort you're actually making. So you can understand how much you're actually doing. You have to understand how much you're willing to let go of the things that you've built. And when you're able to do that, then you have the freedom of knowing that you can come back to them. So you can evolve, you can change. And that's the thing about active meditation that I enjoy the most, is that it forces me to do something that I never thought I would do, that's out of my realm of behaviors, because everybody thinks I'm this very calm and cool person that nothing phases me. And at some level, I guess that I am, but I can never be this caricature of a human that doesn't go through the same spectrum that everybody else goes through, and they're varying degrees. So when you have something like active meditation, then of course it's so, for me, I needed to look back. I don't do these sort of things, and maybe capturing it through video wouldn't be enough. So I needed to know what this means in art, and it's a way of working that I could never do. I could never, as much as I would try to, I could never just put everything into it and just move with the paint. I have to control it at some point. And maybe I'll go back and do that, because both ends of the spectrum have their value. And for this was for us. Nobody would, if somebody looks at the painting, they won't understand it. But if you see the video, you get it. You understand why this is so different.
And describe the video for people that haven't seen it.
So I went through the basic ritual. You breathe, you yell, you get grounded, you tranquilize, and then you celebrate. But in my case, I took an easel that a friend gave to me. I loaded up a blank canvas, and I got a bunch of old tubes of paint that I never found a way to use. So I took the thicker ones that I had, and I put them in my hands. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought maybe I was just going to start moving them around a little bit and brush and just do the 1 minute. But then when I started breathing, I don't know what changes with that, but it just made me want to put things in certain places. So if you would watch the video, all the cool colors were at the bottom and the hot colors were more at the top. So then the dark was on the sides, and in the middle was a bit more of the light. So when I started mixing it all together, it just seemed like a very strange thing, and it's hard to describe what it is, because it will look like finger painting to most people, but it isn't necessarily that. Because there's a intentionality to it, and it came after actually the screaming portion, because I still had to keep on, throughout the whole thing I was still working on it a bit. And then at the end I had to give it that tackle, that shoulder bash, because it was kind of like a punctuation for me. It was the ultimate release of control, because I can still control my fingers, I can articulate in that way, but I can't control this huge part of me that I would never use for art. So it was like a way of, in one way, breaking away from that structure, but also working in ways that I don't intend to, at least in a very designed way. So it was just a very wild experience.
You tackled the painting onto your bed, basically.
Yeah, and I still sleep like purposefully on top of that little blotch that got dried on. I mean, it's acrylic, so it's fine, but yeah, it was a bit more of a mess than I anticipated, to be honest.
How does it look now?
The painting, or
yeah,
it looks a bit different when acrylic loses a bit of its luster as it dries. But the more I look at it, the more I see that the best application to this is to encapsulate the patterns. So without getting too much into it, if I just added like a very formal design around it, like a desk, and then just to say a desk with a bunch of little trinkets, and then you have these weird gems, and they're all ornate, they're very structured, very linear, and then in the middle you have these patterns that can't be rendered, that you can't understand except for knowing that this is a very spontaneous or it's very juxtaposed to what's going on, where it's captured inside of it. So I suppose in that way it's how I feel about this process. It's like a small gem, and you only bring it out when you really need it. And it's more worthwhile in that sense. So your world can be structured, it can be ordered, and it should be in many ways. But you have to let go sometimes to be able to move on. And that's kind of what I look at them as. Sometimes you just have to break the glass, and find a new window. So that's what it was for me. But for everybody else, we'll see what happens.
Got my attention. We got a call at the end of the year, December 30th. I don't know what it is. We got a live call. Who's going to be on that call? What does Erick look like then? What's he going to be like?
Erick is gonna be, well, I suppose me of the future, as I imagine it. I'm gonna have a few more stories, I think, but a few more places that I've been, but a lot more people that I've met, and surely a lot that I've done. I would have done at least one show, at least. But the reason I say this is because I'm not too fixated on a number, because I have this potential that I don't know how far it's. I've never been in the place that I am now, as far as being able to work. So I have so much open that why not do 20 if I get the chance? I'm just ready all the time now to work, to keep going. So when I get there, I'm not sure exactly where I'll be, what I'll be doing, but I know how I'll feel about it. And I feel like it's just the beginning. I'm ready. I'll be ready for 2018. You know, physically, mentally, and the entirety that encompasses. You know, I'll be more there to see what everybody else is doing and see how we can connect and what I can do with someone like Govinda or Gerardo or someone like George even. Like, what can we do to keep pushing on with this? How can we carry on all our talents and bring them together? So for now, you know, there's Nicholas and there's maybe something else coming up, but for now we're starting off, we're building. We have no idea, especially me and him, where things can go. But I see something coming. You know, it's a bit cloudy now, but I'm not afraid. You know, I'm eager, I'm excited. So when I get there at the end of the year, I'll be just as excited, just as ready, and just as willing to take on every single challenge that comes along, because I have nothing left to lose anymore. So that's who I will be in a few months, in 9 months' time.
Let's say you and I went downstairs right now, walking along the sidewalk. We bumped into the old Erick, guy that didn't take this course. What's that guy like?
He would sit in his chair with his shoulders more down, with his neck more tense, afraid to move, afraid to make a mistake, afraid to say certain things because he knows he can't take them. He would be content with saying hello and think that that was a successful conversation because I actually said something. He would be happy to get eye contact, but not happy enough to engage, not willing enough to. He would think that he's gonna do better, he's gonna do good, you know, that he still has that idea in his head that alone I can still make it. There's still a way to go alone. I don't have to hurt anybody in the process. And I don't have to, or I can just hurt myself in the process and it'll be fine. He would think that, you know, only certain people go upstairs. You know, we're at ground level. We stay down. We don't move up. And that's fine. You know, you should be happy with whatever you have, right? He wouldn't be authentic. He wouldn't say what he really means and what he wants to say, because he wouldn't be living as a person that he wants to be. But at least he would be willing to listen.
So here's the deal.
Mm-hmm.
You do owe me. You owe me big time.
Okay.
And you owe every single person in this class in a big way. And so I expect some things from you, young man. And I do.
Yes.
And come New Year's Eve, I want to see you. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to show us who you are. And that doesn't mean going back to these old comfortable habits where we can abuse ourselves or blame ourselves or any of that nonsense, or give excuses that we can't move up, or give excuses not to engage with people or trust people, or any of that old bullshit. Because it's out now, you know? And we've all put a lot on the line to invest in you and bring your ass over here. And everyone is emotionally invested in you. Money doesn't matter, but we're emotionally invested in you. So, you know?
I'll repay it.
Am I making sense?
Yeah, and I get it. I do owe a lot. I owe more than I can ever repay, but every action pushes a thank you note a bit more. So I have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
I have to keep going.
Ultimately, I know you're going to do it, and you're going to do it for yourself. And I'm not going to be one of the other people that says, we see amazing things in you, Erick, because you heard that before.
Yeah.
But I do. And I've had about 400 motherfuckers sit in that seat, and you're right up there with the top ones. All right?
Thank you.
But don't be one of those guys that could have been. You know? Don't be one of those artists that decided to go, I don't know, kill himself or do dumb shit like that. You know? Because that's not what we need. We need someone that's going to stand up and empower people and give back to this class and lead this world, you know? And you need to do that. Not many people have the assets to do that, but you do. So no pressure, buddy, but I'll be watching you. London Real's going to be watching you.
All right, then I'll be watching as well.
All right, you up for that?
Exactly. All right, well, if we can wrap this up, I want to get back to work.
Sounds good. All right, brother. Thanks for joining us on this Life Accelerator.
Thank you.
It's been incredible having you.
It's been incredible being here, and thank you for really obsessing over this stuff and creating this change in the world that we needed so much, so many of us. And this is only the start, but I'll help in any way that I can.
Just be you and give it 100%. That's all I want.
All right.
Deal?
Deal.
All right, man. Leave this, Michael.